man will never annihilate himself because God will not permit it. Now, there's a time coming when mankind will be destroyed. As such, the body, not the soul. The soul is immortal, the soul is eternal, and your soul will be living 50 billion years from right now, either in heaven or hell. Now, verse 24 says he'll come in peacefully. Now, in the same chapter, verses 36 through 39, and the king shall do according to his will. Now, notice, this fellow doesn't take any advice or dictation from anybody. He'll do according to his will. He shall exalt himself, magnify himself above every god, shall speak marvelous things against God of gods, that's God Almighty, of course, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any god, for he shall magnify himself above all, but in his estate shall he honor the God of forces. Notice, the God of forces. Now, Hebrew scholars tell us that that word means the God of nature. And we'll say more about that. That is, will honor the forces of nature, not the God of nature, because that's God Almighty, Jehovah. And a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold, silver, and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them that rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. Divide the land for gain. Now, that's the last insult to God that will take place. And, of course, we have seen a forerunner of such in our day to prove that it can be done. Now, the United Nations divided the land and gave a portion to Israel and a portion to the Arab. You know that. And so it has been done, and it will be done in the reign of the Antichrist. And that will be the last insult to God when Antichrist divides the land that God gave Abraham. Then it is that all hell will break out. Now, the 11th chapter of the prophecy of Daniel is in two divisions. Now, the first 35 verses, the first part of the chapter, or the first division, the first 35 verses, gives us a description or a picture of the reign of Antiochus. Now, this ruler that I talked to you so much about, the little horn of Daniel 8, this forerunner, this perfect forerunner, the Antichrist, his name is Antiochus Epiphanes, and he was one of the most perfect pictures of Antichrist that has ever reigned. And, of course, he spoiled the land of Palestine as no other king ever spoiled it. He betrayed the God of Israel, and he set up an abomination of desolation. He offered a swine, a pig, on the holy altar of God. And, of course, this is history and can be proven. Now, the second part of the chapter begins with verse 36 and runs down through verse 45. And here we have the description of the real man of sin, of whom Antiochus is a type and a shadow, but we have the description of the real fellow. Now, we learn a lot of things about the Antichrist in this chapter, and of course this is, now chapter 12 of Daniel has more to do with another phase that I'll show you when we get there, but in chapter 11 we learn many things, many interesting things about this personal Antichrist, the devil incarnate, and he will be associated with the political head of the revived Roman Empire, the beast with 10 horns, 10 crowns, and of course he's the little horn, and the empire that is symbolized by the 10 toes of Nebuchadnezzar's gigantic image that Daniel explained to him in the 2nd chapter of the book that we're now studying. Now, this Antichrist, who will be the false Messiah, the devil incarnate, will work in accord with the ruler of the revived Roman Empire. Now, he will be the religious dictator of the world, and the ruler of the Roman Empire will be the political dictator of the world, and they'll work together in the interest of world religion and world politics. And that's exactly what is being advocated and pushed forward today by the nations of earth, a United States of the world, and lasting peace, and a world council of churches. Now let me tell you something, my friend. I want to tell you the stage is set, and the place, Israel, the place where these things will begin to happen literally. Israel is already a state, and these things are taking place all around us. Now, in Daniel 11:37, we notice that the Antichrist will be an atheist. He'll be anti-Christian, and he will not regard the desire of women, and he will look to the God of force. And as I said a moment ago, we believe, Hebrew scholars tell us that that word means nature, and of course we know this is the age when man, now listen, follow me closely, and this is the only age, it's never been before, but man today has taken out of the air and out of nature and out of the universe, man has taken the atom and split the atom and has built atomic and hydrogen implements of war that are such terrible implements of war until they're almost too ghastly for men to even talk about, and man is afraid of his own invention. Now, in verse 38, we're told that he will be a materialist. He'll honor the God of forces, the God of force, and as I said, the God of nature, the force, not the God of nature, but the force of nature. He will put his dependence and his faith in the power that he's able to pull from nature. He'll honor the God of force, and in this atomic age we can understand certainly as never before how it would be that the Antichrist would acknowledge and would depend and put his faith and his trust in the bombs that man has built. And of course, when the rapture takes place, all the atomic and hydrogen bombs and jet airplanes and all of that will be left behind. God doesn't use that. All God needs to do is to speak the word. That's all. Just speak the word, and then, beloved friends, the end will come. Now notice verse 40. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, that is Antichrist, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind with chariots and horsemen and many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. Now notice this is at the time of the end. Now, this is not before the rapture, but at the time of the end. This is in the end of the ages. That is when God is about to put an end to all things. That is so far as the Gentile, ungodly, godless rule is concerned. God is about to put a stop to all of it, and this happens in the end. Now, the king of the north and the king of the south will come against the revived Roman Empire, of which the Antichrist will be in power, reigning and ruling, and these two armies from the north and from the south will push in around Jerusalem. Now, there will be four armies. We'll read on in just a few moments. Now, the first will be the Federation of the Roman Empire, and then we'll have the Russian army and the satellite nations of the Russians, and then we'll have the southern army, which will be made up of the Arab nations, Egypt and Transjordan and so on, and then we have the army from the east, which will be made up of the Chinese, the Japanese, and the peoples of the yellow skins. Now, the three last armies will be fighting against the Roman Empire revived. There will be four armies to take place in this last great battle. The Federation of the Roman Empire under 10 kings, and the dictator will be the Antichrist himself, and then Russia and her satellites will push down from the north, and then the Arab nations will push up from the south, and then the eastern nations will push in from the east, or the yellow races will push in the battle. My, what a battle that will be. Now, the Roman Empire will consist probably of the same nations that made it up during the days of Jesus. Part of Britain and France and the southern part of Germany and Greece and Italy and Palestine and the countries in northern Africa. If you'll get a good map and look at the Roman Empire in the days of Jesus, you'll notice that it took up part of Britain and France and Germany and Greece and Italy and Palestine and the northern part of Africa, just the northern tip of Africa. Now, this will be the revived Roman Empire and these other armies that push in from the north, which will be the